Well, Razorback fans, you had some pretty surprising news yesterday as Boogie Fland announces that he is withdrawing from the NBA draft and remaining in the transfer portal. Let's talk about what's going on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday as you've made it to the halfway point of the week. We're going to bring up a little bit about the Razorback Raffle, which has been officially announced, and some of the things going on there, as well as another departure, or I guess you can even say if they're a departure if they never even made it to campus, but somebody from the 2025 recruiting class for football no longer going to be on the Razorbacks. We'll talk about that as well. But I wanted to start today's podcast with the news about Boogie Fland. You remember Boogie Fland, a Razorback point guard who was on the Razorback basketball team last season, came out of the gates pretty strong, was a true freshman, McDonald's All-American, and got hurt. Was able to come back a little bit in postseason in the NCAA tournament, but either way, announced he was going to the NBA, and that was that. Honestly, when that happened, I think everybody felt that it was a no-brainer. He was going to move on to the NBA draft. Razorbacks were going to look ahead and try to see about either replacing him or retaining somebody. We know that Arkansas has two really elite-level guards coming in. It just made sense. And hey, if you want to go to the NBA and you want to try your hand at the NBA draft, you want to get drafted into the NBA, especially when you have a good opportunity to do so, make it happen. No harm, no foul, no issues. Do what you got to do. Well, then later, it was reported that Boogie Fland entered into the transfer portal, even though he was still remaining in the NBA draft process. He just wanted to keep his options open. To which my understanding was like, well, okay, I guess that, do whatever you want to do. You have your options. You want your options to be out there just in case. You never know what happens. Maybe you want to see what all type of money is going to get thrown your way. There's just a lot of different reasons of what could end up happening. But then yesterday, he withdrew. Just took his name right out of the NBA draft process and the NBA combine. He's going to play college basketball next year. Now, some of you may hear that and be like, oh, great. Well, hopefully we have room for him. I know we added some new guards and we got DJ Wagner coming back. But, hey, if this is something that Cal wants, then let's make it happen. Well, I'll just stop you there. He's not going to be playing for Arkansas next year. He's going to be playing elsewhere. Reports say that it will more than likely be Florida, although there are other possibilities. Some of his representation and people he's involved with is a former Gator, Mike Miller himself, and it seems to be the one that makes the most sense. Not to say that he's getting $7 million like some of the absurd reporting was before, but they're definitely a team that has it going on right now, considering they won a national championship, considering what they're doing and feeling right now. It would make sense, especially since they have a need there at the point guard position. But he averaged 13.5 points when he actually was able to play this past season, as well as close to 3.5 rebounds, but 5 assists, 38% shooting, and 34% from three-point distance, which is kind of a pretty crazy thing because 34%, nothing to, shake your head at, but 38% from the field in general, not exactly what you want to see. But he's a really good player. And now he's going to be moving on. And so the question becomes, why? So what happened here? Why would Cal, who seemed to have a good relationship with Boogie Fland, who seemed to like his game, to be very respectful of him, and to honestly just treat him really well when he decided to move on into the NBA, what happened here? Did Cal screw this up? Did Boogie screw this up? How did we get to this point? I think it's all very fair questions. But I also don't think it's anything that needs to cause alarm for anybody. Now, some of you are probably saying that I just will, no matter what, defend Cal at all cost. It's not necessarily the case. I have been critical of him. But I also believe that it would make sense to have Boogie Fland back on this team next year. Now, if Cal wanted him, I'd gladly take him. But if Cal feels like they are just fine with what they have right now, then I'm going with that too. I think about having DJ Wagner back on the team. I think about Darius Acuff, the new true freshman, McDonald's All-American coming in. Say if you were only able, of those three players, of DJ, Acuff, and Boogie, of those three players, you could only keep two of them on the Razorback roster. You only get to choose two. Ask yourself the question, which two are you choosing? For me, my first choice would be DJ Wagner because of the experience he has, because of the leadership he has, because of the really high-quality play that he can provide. Not to say he's perfect, but he definitely is somebody you needed to have and was one of the most important players to get retention from this past season, besides Carter Knox, which we're still waiting on and hopeful for. But I would have chosen DJ Wagner. And with the other position, I would have chosen Darius Acuff. Not because Boogie Fland is a bad player at all. I am not saying that. But because I feel better and stronger about having a higher quality true freshman coming in Darius Acuff, who realistically should be a better scorer, combining him and teaming up with a very high-level, experienced, legitimate guard in DJ Wagner. I feel like that's the better formula. That's the better team. That's the better roster management that you want to have. That's just how I feel. But just because I would rather have those two players and not have Boogie does not mean I don't think he's a good player. Because I'm going to be honest, him going to Florida is a concern for me as far as how good he can be there, because he is a really good player. He's a player that can go into almost any roster, into any team, and be really good. Be arguably one of the best players that they have on the roster, arguably. But it's about fit. It's about something that makes sense. It's about where you're spending your money, who you're getting, who you're concentrating on. And I just don't know and don't think it would work very well if you had these two incoming freshman guards coming in with DJ Wagner coming back as well as Boogie Fland. I mean, you can't have too much talent on the team, but let's be honest, these are all five-star players. All four of those guys, five-star players, elite level players. Only one ball is going to be on the court. So I'm not trying to sit here and convince all of you that this is a big nothing burger and there's no whatever. Boogie can just move on and do what he needs to do. Because again, I think he's going to be extremely good at Florida. I think he's going to be a really good player at Florida. But it does look a little bit weird. It does look strange that on the surface, it was all about Cal sending off his point guard, his true freshman, go get into the NBA and go be great, young man. And all's well that ends well. And everybody was so excited for him and happy for him. And Cal even said, talking about when he was going to play in the NCAA tournament, he said about Boogie, he's like, he wants to play. The greatest piece of it was Boogie saying to me, I don't want to screw it up. I just want to help. And I said, well, you may play 10 to 15 minutes, but so what? He said, I'd be good. And I said, we may need you to play more. I don't know. But then I grabbed the team and said, it's not really changing anybody's role or what's going on. We just have an eighth man. I remember that quote and started thinking about, how happy I was and how proud I was of Boogie and the maturity that he had in that role. And I remember talking to him in the locker room in the NCAA tournament after games and just how he was very mature about everything and very open about everything. But I will say the final game that Arkansas lost to Texas Tech, it's never fun to go into that locker room and talk to players after a loss like that. It's never fun. It's actually pretty sucky, just to be honest. It's probably the least favorite thing of mine to do in my career, and what I do in covering the team is in those moments. But I'll say this, Boogie didn't even know he was there. Zipped up his whole hoodie, had it greased down. He was on his phone, had his headphones in, wasn't going to talk to anybody. And I took that as somebody who was going to be going to the next level. And that's fine. But it's just really unfortunate that it didn't play out that way. I don't know if we'll ever get the real story of what went on or what changed his mind. What was it, something that Florida offered him, whatever it was. Why did Arkansas not pursue him? There's just so many questions that go into it. But to me, it all just seems weird. It seems weird, but it's going to be okay. I'd like to know more, but if I don't, I'm going to be fine. It's just an interesting thing. Arkansas's got to get some scoring, though, man. They got to find a way to get some scoring in there. I need some more three-point shooters. I need more than that. But we're going to talk more about the Razorback Raffle and what this thing is. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I'm here to tell you about FanDuel because the NBA playoffs are in full swing and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances across the board, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. You have it going on. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and to win big. What would you like to see when it comes to these games? Would you like to combine the live prop bets in mid-game and based on how the action unfolds, be able to win big that way? If you got a read on who's going to be heating up, why not back it up with that same game parlay that you can have in the NBA playoffs? How could a $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits? I'm sure that would make you feel really good. And that's what FanDuel is able to offer to you. If you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up right now. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, the Razorback Raffle. Some of you may have heard me talk about this on Inside Arkansas Live yesterday, as it was officially announced by Hunter Yurchek in the athletic department in the University of Arkansas that they are officially promoting and doing their Razorback Raffle. It's been a hot topic of conversation, as a lot of you know that Saracen Casino and Bet Saracen and everything, they were fighting in the courts to try to, here in the state of Arkansas, and trying to get it to where the raffle can be done through casinos. But instead, the state ruled in favor of having a 50-50 raffle, but having the universities handle it. I wasn't big on this from the get-go, not because of just Carlton Seif is a friend of mine, and Bet Saracen is a great place that I use here in the state of Arkansas and all of that. But I say that because I always felt like having something like gaming or raffling or whatever, something like that probably needs to be in the hands of the pros and the people that are really good at it and the people that know it and know how to do it the best. And I just don't know if the university, and this is any university, has enough time on their hands and resources on their hands to make that as effective as it needs to be. That was just my opinion. But I was wondering when it was going to get announced, and here you go. It's the Razorback Raffle. And essentially what it comes down to is that if you go on this website at RazorbackRaffle.com, you can buy some tickets. And if you buy some tickets, you can have a chance for, again, the 50-50 raffle where you could win money. To split the pot 50%. 50% goes to you, 50% then goes back also to the Razorback Foundation. It's going to go into the Razorback Foundation supporting student athletes. At the time of the recording of this podcast, the current jackpot right now is at $16,695, where if the winner, whoever you may be out there, if it was to end today, you would get $8,345. Not a bad little payday for you. But it's going to be announced this weekend at the Arkansas-Tennessee game on Saturday who the winner will be, and I'm sure the deal will grow by that point in time. But the thing is that there's still just a lot of concerns and curiosities I have about this. For instance, the one thing that I was kind of against, or at least I didn't feel fully comfortable with, is that anybody who's doing the Razorback Raffle, you have to understand this, folks, and make sure you understand this. This is not going towards NIL. It could possibly, in theory, go towards NIL, especially with rev sharing going to be passed here this summer. But the state law, all it says in here in the state of Arkansas is that this money can go wherever the University of Arkansas and the Razorback Foundation, everyone involved, decides it needs to go. It can go towards facilities. It can go towards a salary for somebody. It can go towards paying off debts. It can go towards any of that. So I think that's an important thing to remember, not because I'm trying to, because I hate to be this. I don't want to be the negative person, and I'm really not trying to be. I know people think that I am, and I'm not. I'm just trying to look at things in a realistic lens. And I've always said I call balls and strikes. I try to look at the good things of stuff and look at the things I want to be critical of. And there's some things about this Razorback Raffle that I am a little bit critical of, is that it's under the guise that it's going to help out in NIL. And it's like, it could, maybe, but it just doesn't guarantee that. But then at the end of the day, hey, if you're winning your money, you're winning your money. You know, if you're somebody that wins this $8,000 some odd dollars, you'd be pretty excited about it. And that's great. Great. I mean, and if this is not something that's going to hurt the University of Arkansas and the athletic department, it's not going to cause problems for their finances as far as making it worse. It's just a matter of the communication on it and the transparency of it. And you just got to be weary of that. I don't know how much this is going to raise. I don't know how consistent it's going to be, because it's only going to be done during game weekends, and this is the last game weekend you can have it until football season. I don't think that they'll be able to do it during the NCAA tournament and postseason, but who knows? But the point is that this is just a weird time to launch it. Maybe it's like a soft launch to see how it goes and then fix any kinks and get ready for football season. Maybe it's that way. But I've had issues with how things have been handled when it comes to the NIL and everything. And, you know, Hunter Yurchek and the administration at the University of Arkansas has made it very apparent that they're in a desperate way, essentially. They're in a bad way of trying to get ready for this revenue sharing that's going to be coming up. And I think that one of the things that bothers me the most is that if Arkansas is in this desperation mode and if they're struggling as much as what it looks to be, why? Why has it gotten to this point, maybe compared to other schools? You know, it doesn't seem like anybody's feeling like they have to do this in order to make ends meet when it comes to that upcoming revenue sharing law that's going to get passed. I just don't know what the money is going to go to. And also, a concern I have, and this is nothing that we'll ever know, because since it's in the Razorback Foundation, we'll never know where this money goes. We won't. But my biggest question on this is, what is your priority with this money? What is the priority? Every dime that you make in this Razorback Raffle, what is the priority? Don't give me the answer of, well, it's to help student athletes out and to, you know, help fund to make their experience as Razorbacks. No, don't give me that crap, man. What is your number one priority? Is your priority NIL? Is your priority facilities? Is your priority paying off debt? Is your priority hiring people? Like, whatever it is, what is your priority? Because I can tell you what my priority is, and I can guarantee you, all you listening and watching out there, I can probably tell you what your priority is too. It's NIL. Because that is the name of the game. That is what gets everybody to where they need to be to win. And I know that this revenue sharing that's going to come in, it's going to replace that, and it's not going to be around, even though I still think that there's going to be plenty of NIL to go around. But if it gets that $20.5 million threshold, okay. But then the money that's on top of that, that goes past that threshold, what does that go towards? What is that? What is your priority here? What is your main goal for this? Is it to make the ends meet? Or is it to take you to the next level of greatness? There's a big difference between the two. Because I can't help but feel like some of the communication and messaging has been about, well, we're just trying to make the ends meet, which is concerning to me. Something like this shouldn't be about making ends meet. Something like this should be about taking it to the next level and helping you win championships and compete for championships. So we'll see. I just hope that they really promote this a lot better than what they did the Arkansas Edge. I know that the Arkansas Edge is essentially going away. I hope that it is used correctly and used in the right way. I hope that's the case. But just like so many things going on with NIL and so many things going on within the university, we'll just never know. But one thing we do know, though, is a certain Razorback football player is not going to be playing here next season. Not surprising either, but we'll talk about it. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I wanted to bring this guy up because some of you may have forgotten about him. You remember the whole Madden situation and how he, was coming from California. It was a big deal. And part of the 2025 class, then since he had been committed to UCLA, is he was bringing one of his teammates, a guy that people may have been pretty excited about, with Jace Brown, who was playing wide receiver. But when the whole thing with Madden went down, that was immediately one of the thoughts of, okay, so what about this guy? Is he still going to be coming to Arkansas? Because he didn't come in the spring. He's going to be a fall enrollee. Is he going to still come? Well, I think we all kind of felt like he wasn't. And that's exactly what happened. He's been released from his scholarship agreement with the school. Christina Long was actually the first to report this. And I know that it doesn't come as some surprise or anything like that. But it's just unfortunate because it's like, man, these are the types of things where I was pretty excited about him, actually, because he's 6'4", 200 pounds, which to me, it's like you needed size. I feel like everybody on the roster right now is like 6'1" or below. It felt like you needed some size. And he was the 104th wide receiver in the country, as well as the 61st overall prospect in California. So either way, he is not going to be making it to campus along with other people too. So the players that you lost Coffrey Brown, you lost Jaden Wilson, Isaiah Satania, Shamar Easter, Davion Dozier, Desmond James, and Jace Brown now. And Jordan Anthony, who is going to track apparently. So those are the wide receivers that could have come back or could have played another year at Arkansas that are no longer here. Now, you still got Omega Blake. You still got Raylan Sharp, Ismail CC, Cam Shanks. Keep on saying Skanks. Cam Shanks. Got Andy Jean, Jalen Brown, CJ Brown, Cross Johnson, Zachary Taylor, Courtney Crutchfield, Antonio Jordan, Jacaden Ferguson. So you still got bodies. You still got people out there. But it just kind of goes to show you that, a lot of these things, we are unpredictable. A lot of these things, we don't know what's going to happen when it comes to these certain players. But in some cases, like this particular case, it was pretty predictable of what was going to happen with Jace Brown. But we'll see what the scholarship and the distribution and everything lines up to be. But no surprise. I still just don't understand how all this works sometimes, man, of how players can just do this. Like, what's he going to do? I'm sure he has a plan. I'm sure it's going to be fine. But it's like, man, it's like we're in the middle of May. Is there another place out there I'm sure has an open scholarship that they can just throw your way? Is it somewhere you actually want to go? You going to walk on somewhere? I don't know. Again, I'm sure he's got a plan, but it's one of those fascinating things that we'll have to wait and see on. But either way, appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts are found. On iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.